As Shi Pokong and Shi Chuankong dropped to their knees, Marquis Blooddrop hurriedly followed suit, loudly proclaiming his praise. Han Li's eyes flickered slightly. He merely bowed toward the main seat in greeting, showing no intention of kneeling. Still on his knees, Shi Chuankong was alarmed when he saw this. The Demon Lord placed great importance on etiquette. Refusing to kneel in his presence was a grave offense. Shi Chuankong immediately regretted forgetting to warn Han Li about this beforehand. Before he could react, a cold and furious rebuke rang out from the side. "Impudent madman! How dare you refuse to kneel before the sacred emperor?" Rows of seats had been arranged along the left side of the hall, and 2 people were already seated there. Han Li's heart trembled slightly. Ever since entering the hall, his attention had been completely drawn toward the Demon Lord, causing him to overlook everything around him. There were 13 seats in the front row. They were entirely dark gold, distinctly different from the vermilion seats behind them. A young woman sat in the 5th seat of the front row. She wore a purple palace gown and a purple gold phoenix crown. Her features were as exquisite as a painting, and her beauty was so extraordinary that she could truly be described as capable of toppling kingdoms. Beside her in the 6th seat, sat a round-faced young man in purple robes. He was short and immensely rotund, looking at first glance like a squat winter melon. He was the one who had shouted just now. Behind and slightly to the side of each of them sat a tall demon wearing blue armor. They appeared to be guards like Han Li and Marquis Blooddrop. Han Li ignored the round-faced young man and turned his attention toward the woman in the palace gown. A trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. She was none other than the white-robed woman who had previously prevented him from meeting the first prince. Her clear eyes also turned toward him. Instead of showing anger, she gave him a radiant smile. She was already breathtakingly beautiful, but when she smiled, her dazzling elegance resembled countless flowers blooming at once. Even Han Li was briefly entranced before immediately recovering and withdrawing his gaze. "I am not a citizen of the sacred realm," Han Li said after a moment of thought. "I only came to Night Sun City because I was protecting the 13th prince. The sacred emperor rules over the sacred realm, and although I hold him in the highest admiration, to me, he is still a revered senior rather than my sovereign. Naturally, there is no need for me to perform the ceremony of kneeling." Although Han Li was unwilling to kneel, he also had no desire to offend the Demon Lord. After all, he still needed the man's assistance with Weeping Soul. "Outrageous! You still dare to argue?" The round-faced young man's expression darkened. "That is enough, Mingzhen. It is merely a small matter. Do not quarrel here," the Demon Lord said indifferently. "Yes, father." The round-faced young man was clearly surprised, but he immediately complied. After glaring fiercely at Han Li, he said nothing more. Shi Chuankong, still kneeling on the ground, was also stunned. Surprise appeared in his eyes. Shi Pokong's expression showed little change, though one of his eyebrows rose almost imperceptibly. "You are Li Feiyu?" the Demon Lord asked calmly, neither pleased nor displeased. "Since you are not a citizen of my sacred realm, you may be exempted from kneeling. Pokong Chuankong, you may rise as well." "Thank you, father." Shi Pokong, Shi Chuankong, and Marquis Blooddrop all stood. Han Li bowed slightly once again to express his gratitude. "Chuankong, you were away from the sacred realm for quite some time. How was your journey to the true immortal realm?" The Demon Lord looked toward Shi Chuankong, and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Reporting to father, I encountered many unfamiliar customs in the true immortal realm and gained a great deal from the experience," Shi Chuankong hurriedly replied. "Your cultivation has improved considerably. It seems the journey was indeed worthwhile. Cultivators such as ourselves should broaden our horizons and endure many hardships. Only then can we continue to advance." The Demon Lord spoke approvingly, directing his final sentence toward everyone in the hall. "Father is correct," Shi Chuankong replied with deep agreement. The woman in the palace gown and the round-faced young man also nodded. "Father, although improving one's cultivation is important, we members of the imperial family bear responsibility for the lives of the sacred realm's countless citizens. We cannot concern ourselves solely with cultivation," Shi Pokong said, cupping his hands. "In recent years, the Heavenly Court's armies stationed near our sacred realm have been redeployed frequently. They appear to be preparing for something significant. I respectfully request that Father conduct a thorough investigation in case the Heavenly Court intends to invade again. I understand. I will make the necessary arrangements, the Demon Lord replied noncommittally. At that moment, an attendant hurried into the hall and dropped to his knees. Reporting to the Sacred Emperor, the 1st, 8th and 10th princes are outside requesting an audience. Let them enter, the Demon Lord said before waving toward Shi Pokong and the others. They withdrew to the side. Shi Pokong sat in the 3rd seat, with Marquis Blooddrop standing behind him. Shi Chuankong walked to the seat at the very end, and Han Li naturally followed him. Fellow Taoist Li, Father has an obstinate and unpredictable temperament. I do not know why he overlooked your disrespect just now, but you were extremely fortunate. You must not clash with him again. Otherwise, not only will you be unable to save Weeping Soul, but even your own safety cannot be guaranteed. Shi Chuankong's low voice sounded directly inside Han Li's mind. Han Li remained silent for a moment before nodding. How could he not realize that his actions had been somewhat inappropriate? However, there were things a man could do and things he could never do. No matter what happened, he could not bring himself to bend his knees before another person. Seeing Han Li nod, Shi Chuankong relaxed slightly. Fellow Taoist Shi, who are those two? Han Li glanced toward the woman in the palace gown and the round-faced young man as he transmitted his voice. They are my 5th sister Shi Jingyan and my 6th brother Shi Mingzhen, Shi Chuankong replied. Are they connected to the 1st prince? Han Li asked, raising his eyebrows. 5th sister possesses profound cultivation and great ambition. She is one of the most outstanding among us and can rival both eldest brother and 3rd brother. She also controls a considerable force of her own. 6th brother and 12th brother are both her supporters, Shi Chuankong explained. Han Li was secretly surprised. He recalled how the woman had stopped him from speaking with the 1st prince all those years ago, and began wondering whether some conspiracy had been hidden behind that incident. At that moment, footsteps sounded as the 1st prince and the others entered. We pay our respects to Father. May Father's cultivation continue to advance, allowing you to attain the rank of Tao Ancestor, achieve eternal freedom, and flourish through the ages. The 1st prince and his companions bowed deeply and spoke in unison. Good, good. You may all rise. A smile appeared on the Demon Lord's face. He seemed quite pleased by the 1st prince's flattery. The 1st prince and the others stood as instructed. He took the 1st seat, while the 8th and 10th princes sat in their respective places. After sitting down, the 1st prince swept his gaze around the hall. He first nodded in greeting toward the 3rd prince, Shi Pokong, and the 5th princess, Shi Jingyan. Finally, his eyes turned toward Han Li, and he smiled. Han Li acted as though he had not noticed. The 1st prince did not appear offended and calmly looked away. More people continued arriving to congratulate the Demon Lord on emerging from seclusion. All of them held noble titles and were responsible for various affairs throughout Night Sun City, and even across the Demon Realm. The celebration before Han Li resembled a morning court assembly in the mortal world. Shi Chuankong continuously introduced the newcomers to Han Li, allowing him to gain a general understanding of the influential figures from every part of the Demon Realm. Before long, nearly every seat in the hall was occupied. However, only 7 people, including Shi Pokong, sat in the front row. None of the other princes or princesses had appeared. Fellow Taoist Shi, did you not say that the Sacred Emperor's emergence from seclusion was a major event for the entire Sacred Realm? Why have the other princes and princesses not come? Han Li asked through voice transmission as he looked at the nearly half-empty front row. 7th brother is currently stationed in Black Crow City, closely monitoring the Heavenly Court's movements, so he cannot leave his post. 12th brother enjoys traveling and is rarely in Night Sun City. Even Father cannot control him. As for 2nd sister, 4th sister, 9th sister, and 11th sister, the 4 of them became disciples of one of the Sacred Realm's Tao ancestors. I have not seen them for many years, and they certainly will not be attending today, Shi Chuankong explained. I see, Han Li replied. After another short while, no one else entered. Since everyone has arrived, let us begin. Report, one by one, the important events that occurred within the Sacred Realm during my seclusion, the Demon Lord said, tapping the table before him. The first prince, Shi Zhanfeng, immediately stood. Reporting to father during your seclusion, I inspected the Mo, Yongliang, Hanyun and Guxing domains. This jade record contains the report I prepared. Please examine it, father. Shi Zhanfeng produced a jade booklet. A gray shadow shot out from behind the demon lord and appeared before the first prince in a flash. It accepted the jade booklet, then reappeared beside the demon lord and respectfully presented it to him. Han Li's expression changed slightly. Only now did he manage to see the gray figure clearly. It was a person dressed in gray. Black mist covered the figure's face, making its features impossible to discern. Its body drifted weightlessly and did not resemble flesh and blood at all. It appeared more like a wandering spirit. That person is called Shadow. He is father's personal guard. No one knows his identity or origins, and no one has ever seen his face, but his strength is extraordinary. Shi Chuankong explained through voice transmission after noticing Han Li's gaze. Very good. You have rendered considerable service by eliminating the bandits in those 4 domains. The demon lord rapidly examined the jade booklet and nodded. Sharing father's burdens is no hardship. Father is the one who has endured the difficulties of cultivating in seclusion. Several years ago, I happened to obtain a stalk of origin space grass. I wish to offer it to father in the hope that it may assist your cultivation. Shi Zhanfeng moved his wrist and produced a white wooden box. When he opened the lid, a small stalk of grass several inches long was revealed. The grass was entirely silver white and possessed 9 leaves, each with a different shape. Clusters of silver Dao patterns covered every leaf, releasing extremely powerful fluctuations of spatial law. Shadow flashed forward, took the box and placed it before the demon lord. The demon lord's eyes brightened slightly. After carefully examining the origin space grass, he nodded and put it away. My son's filial devotion is commendable. Reward him with 3 azure exquisite pills, 10 suits of primordial sacred armor, and 10 dragon elephant prison suppressing swords, the demon lord said to Shadow with a faint smile. Shadow disappeared in a flash and immediately reappeared. He now held a white jade tray bearing 3 palm-sized crystalline objects. A turquoise pill was sealed within each crystal. The tray also held 10 suits of white armor and 10 golden swords. A faint medicinal fragrance drifted from the 3 turquoise pills. As soon as Han Li smelled it, the 36 profound acupoints he had opened began pulsing restlessly, as though they wished to swallow all 3 pills at once. Apart from the pills, the 10 suits of white armor also appeared extraordinary. At first glance, each suit seemed rather ordinary. Upon closer inspection, however, one could see that it was woven from countless fingernail-sized scales. Runes flowed over every scale, releasing dazzling white radiance. The golden swords also emitted brilliant golden light. Within their radiance, the faint phantoms of a flood dragon and a giant elephant could be seen moving endlessly. At times they roared, coiled, crouched, or charged. Thank you for father's generous reward, Shi Zhanfeng exclaimed with delight as he accepted the treasures. Most of the people seated on both sides revealed envious expressions. Shi Chuankong's eyes also shone, and he clearly coveted the treasures. Shi Pokong and Shi Jingyan remained considerably calmer. Shi Pokong's expression was neither joyful nor disappointed, while Shi Jingyan wore a faint smile that concealed whatever she was thinking. Fellow Taoist Shi, what kind of pill is that azure exquisite pill? Its aura is truly profound. Could it be some type of Tao pill? Han Li asked through voice transmission. The azure exquisite pill is not a Tao pill, but a sacred body refining pill. Tens of thousands of years ago, Father traveled deep into the 10 Afflictions mountain range and personally killed an azure demon bull at the Great Encompassment Realm. Using its blood essence and several hundred precious ingredients, he spent centuries refining 81 azure exquisite pills. Each prince and princess received one. Combined with the other pills bestowed as rewards over the years, there are probably very few left now. With the guidance of an appropriate cultivation technique, a single pill contains enough medicinal power to open several or even more than 10 profound acupoints, greatly increasing the strength of a physical cultivator, Shi Chuankong explained after slowly exhaling. I see. I assume the armor and swords are also far from ordinary, Han Li said, secretly astonished. The primordial sacred armor and dragon elephant prison suppressing swords are also immensely powerful treasures. If an ordinary golden immortal level physical cultivator wore the armor and wielded one of those swords, they would be capable of contending with a grand unity cultivator. Father has truly given eldest brother an extraordinary reward today, Shi Chuankong continued, his tone filled with bitterness. Han Li's eyes flickered, but he said nothing. With those 10 sets of armor and swords, the first prince could immediately establish a formidable force of physical cultivators. As Shi Chuankong had said, their combined strength would be no weaker than an early-stage great encompassment cultivator. After accepting his reward, Shi Zhanfeng quickly withdrew. The third prince, Shi Pokong, then stood and stepped forward. He first bowed deeply to the demon lord before producing a jade booklet. Father, I have spent these years following your orders and monitoring the movements along the borders. This is the completed report. Please examine it. As soon as he finished speaking, a gray shadow flashed, and the jade booklet appeared in the demon lord's hand. The demon lord flipped through it and merely nodded. Good. You have worked hard. Shi Pokong bowed again. He showed no sign of feeling neglected and calmly returned to his seat. Third brother truly is frustrating. Why did he not take the opportunity to offer father something, as eldest brother did? Father is obviously in a good mood today. He would surely have given third brother a valuable reward. Shi Chuankong sighed, sounding deeply disappointed. Han Li glanced at Shi Pokong after he sat down. Shi Pokong seemed to sense his gaze and looked over, responding only with a faint smile. Father, your daughter does not possess the abilities of my 2 elder brothers. During these years, I have done nothing more than manage the 100 Flowers Hall, and have no great achievements to report. This 10,000-mile portrait of rivers and mountains was embroidered by me and the sisters of the hall over the course of 100 years. May Father soon attain the great Tao of a Tao ancestor and unite all realms under your rule. Shi Jingyan gracefully rose and waved her hand, producing an enormous scroll dozens of meters long and over 10 meters wide. A magnificent embroidered landscape covered the scroll. Mountains rose and fell, stretching to the limits of the horizon, while a vast red sun rose in the east and illuminated thousands of miles of rivers and mountains. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and a majestic aura surged from the scroll like a vast wave. Good. My daughter has been thoughtful. Shadow, bring out the Jade Smoke King Cauldron and bestow it upon Jingyan. The demon lord instructed with a slight nod. Shadow vanished and soon reappeared, holding an emerald green 3-legged cauldron. The cauldron was half as tall as a person and possessed an ancient design. 9 openings had been carved into its top. Streams of green smoke periodically emerged, spiraled around the cauldron, and then seeped back inside, creating an exceedingly mysterious sight. Thank you, Father. Delight appeared on Shi Jingyan's face as she accepted the Jade Smoke King Cauldron and withdrew. The 6th prince, Shi Mingzhen, then rose and stepped forward. One after another, the princes and princesses presented themselves before the demon lord. While reporting on the affairs under their supervision, they also offered gifts to win his favor. Whenever someone presented a gift, the demon lord responded with a generous reward. Before long it was Shi Chuankong's turn. Father, I have been away from the sacred realm for many years and have been unable to properly oversee the business of Guangyuan House, causing some fluctuations in its operations. Please punish me, Shi Chuankong said as he stepped forward and presented an account book. What punishment is necessary? Although you were outside the sacred realm and Guangyuan House's business fluctuated slightly, its overall performance did not decline. Now that you have returned, you need only reorganize it, the demon lord said encouragingly after examining the account book. Thank you for your generosity, Father. During my journey through the true Immortal Realm, I accidentally discovered the ruins of the Mantra sect. I found this treasure there and wished to present it to you. Silver light flashed in Shi Chuankong's hand, and the Luozha Pipa appeared. He raised it with both hands. The people in the hall were all knowledgeable and experienced. They immediately recognized the pipa and began whispering among themselves. Shi Zhanfeng and the others also looked over, each wearing a different expression. The Luozha pipa has finally returned, the demon lord murmured as he raised his hand. The pipa floated upward and flew into his grasp. The demon lord gently caressed its surface, a look of reminiscence appearing in his eyes. No one in the hall spoke. Good. Chuankong, Retrieving the Luozha Pipa is indeed a tremendous achievement, and I am greatly pleased. Tell me what reward you desire, the demon lord said after quickly returning to his senses. I merely acted on father's behalf. I would not dare request a reward, Shi Chuankong replied with his head lowered. Haha, I have always rewarded merit. If I failed to reward such an achievement, would I not invite everyone beneath the heavens to condemn me as a father? The demon lord said with a hearty laugh. Seeing him so pleased, everyone in the hall laughed along with him. Although Shi Zhongfeng also smiled, a strange light briefly passed through his eyes. Not far away, Shi Jingyan's beautiful eyes flickered. The look she directed toward Shi Chuankong became considerably more solemn. Transmit my decree. The 13th prince has recovered a supreme treasure and rendered exceptional service. He shall be granted the title Marquis of Heavenly Commerce. As for his fief, the Heavenly Rainbow Domain currently has no ruler, so I shall bestow it upon him as well, the demon lord declared after a brief pause. The hall instantly fell silent. Everyone stared at the demon lord in astonishment. Han Li's eyebrows also rose. From what he had learned about the demon realm over the years, the Heavenly Rainbow Domain was an extremely prosperous region. Several of the major routes passing through the demon realm converged there, making it a strategic location that controlled the realm's throat. It was no wonder everyone was astonished that such an important territory had been placed under Shi Chuankong's control. Thank you for your immense favor, father, but this reward is far too great. I cannot possibly accept it. Please withdraw your decree, Shi Chuankong said in alarm, immediately dropping to his knees. When have I ever withdrawn a reward? The Heavenly Rainbow Domain possesses flourishing commerce, making you the ideal person to govern it. Manage it properly and do not disappoint my expectations, the demon lord said calmly as he looked at Shi Chuankong. Shi Chuankong met his father's gaze and opened his mouth, but after a moment he answered solemnly, Thank you for father's great kindness. I will not disappoint the trust you have placed in me. You may withdraw, the demon lord said, waving his hand. Father, I still have another matter to report, Shi Chuankong hurriedly said. Oh? What else is there? Speak freely, the demon lord replied in surprise. Father, I was only able to recover the Luozha Pipa from the mantra sect ruins because of fellow Taoist Li's assistance. Furthermore, we were attacked several times while returning to Night Sun City. It was only through fellow Taoist Li's full assistance that we escaped those dangers. His contribution was greater than mine. I respectfully ask Father to reward him as well, Shi Chuankong said rapidly. Oh. The demon lord turned his gaze toward Han Li. Han Li stood and lowered his head respectfully. Everyone in the hall looked toward him, but his expression remained completely calm. Li Feiyu, although you are not a citizen of my sacred realm, you have rendered us such great service. Naturally, I cannot allow your contribution to go unrewarded. Tell me what you desire, the demon lord said with a nod. Fellow Taoist Shi and I are friends who have endured life and death trials together. I would not ordinarily request compensation for helping him. However, I currently face a problem that I am truly incapable of resolving. Therefore, I will shamelessly ask the Sacred Emperor to grant me this reward. Han Li replied, neither servile nor arrogant. What problem? Tell me, the demon lord said calmly. Reporting to the Sacred Emperor, the soul of one of my close friends suffered severe damage for reasons unknown. Furthermore, she possesses the constitution of a punishment beast, and the vital essence throughout her body is continuously dissipating. Ordinary methods have no effect. I respectfully ask the Sacred Emperor to permit the High Priest of the Sacrificial Hall to examine my friend. Han Li cupped his hands and bowed again. Oh, you merely wish to save someone. That is simple. Zhongfeng, summon the High Priest and have him treat this man's friend, the demon lord said with an amused smile before turning toward the first prince. Reporting to father, the High Priest entered seclusion 10 years ago. Could fellow Taoist Li's friend be treated after the High Priest emerges? Shi Zhongfeng cupped his hands toward the demon lord before turning toward Han Li with an apologetic expression. If that is the case, waiting would be acceptable. However, how long does the High Priest ordinarily remain in seclusion? Han Li asked without displaying the slightest surprise. That is difficult to say. Seclusion may be long or short. Sometimes it lasts only several years, while at other times it can continue for more than a century. Nevertheless, fellow Taoist Li may rest assured. As soon as the high priest emerges, I will have him treat your friend, Shi Zhanfeng replied. Eldest brother, now that the sacrificial hall is under your authority, are you truly unaware of when the high priest will emerge? Shi Chuankong asked with a cold snort. 13th brother, you have wrongly accused me. Although I currently administer the sacrificial hall, the high priest possesses an exalted position, and his actions are not under my control. I have always shown him the utmost respect. I truly do not know when he will emerge. If you do not believe me, you may ask Priest Qingyang, Shi Zhanfeng said helplessly, spreading his hands. As soon as he finished speaking, an elderly man wearing priestly robes stood. The man possessed a thin face, while both his hair and beard were deep azure. Threads of blue light faintly flickered around them, perhaps because of some cultivation technique he practiced. Reporting to the 13th prince, the high priest is indeed in seclusion. Otherwise, I would not have attended the sacred emperor's celebration in his place. The high priest never consults us before acting. We truly have no idea when he will emerge, Priest Qingyang said after first bowing to the demon lord and then turning toward Shi Chuankong. Shi Chuankong frowned. Although doubts remained in his heart, the conversation had reached a point where he could no longer continue pressing them. Since the high priest is in seclusion, he can treat fellow Taoist Li's friend after he emerges. A century or so passes in the blink of an eye for people like us, the demon lord said. I do not mean to be impatient. My friend's condition is currently being stabilized with purple sun warm jade, but I have very little of it remaining. At most it will last another 20 or 30 years. She truly cannot wait a century, Han Li said with a sigh, cupping his hands toward the demon lord. Shi Pokong had previously promised to search for mid-grade purple sun warm jade for him, but over all these years he had only managed to find a small piece. Purple sun warm jade? I happen to possess some, and all of it is mid-grade. I will give it to fellow Taoist Li as repayment for your assistance to 13th brother, and the sacred realm. This should be sufficient to sustain your friend for another century, Shi Zhanfeng said with a smile. He produced a storage ring and offered it to Han Li. Han Li raised his eyebrows and exchanged a glance with Shi Chuankong before accepting the ring. When his spiritual sense entered it, his eyes brightened slightly. 7 or 8 pieces of mid-grade purple sun warm jade were stored inside, each of excellent quality. Shi Pokong's refined eyes darkened slightly when he witnessed this. Thank you for your gift, First Prince. With this purple sun warm jade, my friend can indeed endure another century. However, after that time, I will still have to trouble the high priest, Han Li said as he looked toward Shi Zhanfeng. Fellow Taoist Li may rest assured, Shi Zhanfeng replied with a smile. Han Li nodded and said nothing further. Seeing this, a faint smile appeared on the demon lord's otherwise impassive face. He was about to dismiss them when Shi Pokong stepped forward. Father, please wait. What is it? Speak freely, the demon lord said, glancing toward him. Father, 13th brother mentioned that he was attacked while returning to Night Sun City. He previously told me part of what happened. Those attackers were extremely powerful, and I have already heard about the matter and dispatched people to investigate, the demon lord interrupted, raising his hand. His expression turned slightly cold. Shi Pokong froze and his clear eyes flickered. Shi Chuankong revealed an unwilling expression and was about to speak. Father possesses extraordinary abilities. The results of the investigation conducted by your people will naturally be far clearer than anything we know, Shi Pokong said as he grabbed Shi Chuankong and stopped him. You need not concern yourselves with the matter any further. Focus on your own responsibilities, the demon lord said, his expression softening. I obey, Shi Pokong replied. Yes, Shi Chuankong said slowly. The muscles in his cheek tightened, but he still lowered his head. Han Li watched the exchange with surprise but did not speak. He merely remained standing silently to the side. That is enough. All of you may withdraw, the demon lord said coldly, waving his hand. They bowed and left the hall. The celebration continued. The remaining officials reported the affairs under their authority in order of rank while presenting gifts. The celebration lasted until the afternoon, when all outstanding matters were finally settled. Everyone in the hall rose and departed. Before long, only the demon lord and Shadow remained. Shadow, do you think this Li Feiyu resembles that person? The demon lord suddenly asked after silently staring into the empty space before him for some time. Shadow stood quietly nearby without responding. The demon lord did not appear to expect an answer. After standing there for another moment, he chuckled softly, and his figure flickered before vanishing into thin air. Shadow's body also flickered and disappeared after him. Congratulations, 13th brother. You have only just returned to Night Sun City, yet you have already received such immense imperial favor. Not only were you granted the title of Marquis, but Father even bestowed the heavenly rainbow domain upon you. As your eldest brother, I am truly delighted for you. Outside the hall, Shi Zhongfeng stopped Shi Chuankong and the others with a smile. When the surrounding people saw them beginning to speak, they immediately offered their farewells and hurried away. They appeared afraid of accidentally hearing something they should not. Shi Jingyan and Shi Mingzhen, however, did not leave. Instead they approached. Eldest brother praises me too highly. When it comes to father's favor, how could I possibly compare with you? Every pill, suit of armor, and weapon father bestowed upon you was a supreme treasure. Those are the rewards that truly make me envious. Shi Chuankong replied with a smile. If father permitted it, I would gladly exchange my rewards for yours, Shi Zhongfeng said with a laugh. Shi Chuankong snorted inwardly but did not respond. Fellow Taoist Li, your cultivation is profound, and I greatly admire you. Should you have time in the future, you are welcome to visit my residence for a conversation, Shi Zhongfeng said, turning toward Han Li with a friendly nod. Han Li gave a non-committal salute. Shi Zhongfeng laughed again and swept his sleeve around the 8th and 10th princes. His figure abruptly disappeared and reappeared far in the distance. After another flicker, all three vanished from sight. Han Li's pupils contracted slightly. Shi Zhongfeng seemed to have used an ability similar to compressing vast distances into a single step. However, there had been no warning before his movement. Only now did Han Li detect an extremely faint spatial fluctuation. Shi Zhongfeng's control over spatial power was far more profound and mysterious than Shi Chuankong's. Eldest brother's mirror void radiance has become considerably more profound, Shi Pokong remarked with a smile. Shi Chuankong frowned slightly, a grave light passing through his eyes. 13th brother, you were trapped by baleful decay for many years. I never expected that a single journey through the true immortal realm would allow you to break through your bottleneck. As your elder sister, I am truly happy for you. Unfortunately, I am overwhelmed with responsibilities and cannot free myself. Otherwise, I would also like to visit the true immortal realm. Shi Jingyan approached with a charming laugh. You praise me too highly, fifth sister, Shi Chuankong replied with a slight salute, his manner somewhat cold. Shi Jingyan merely smiled and paid no attention to his attitude. Her beautiful eyes shifted toward Han Li, and she approached with graceful steps. Han Li's heart tightened as he secretly raised his guard. An unusual fragrance drifted toward him. It resembled both orchids and musk and carried an intoxicating quality. Shi Jingyan continued forward until she stood less than a meter away, yet she still showed no intention of stopping. Her captivating eyes slowly swept over Han Li from head to toe, releasing a strange attractive force that seemed intent on drawing his soul into them. May I ask what guidance the fifth princess wishes to offer? Han Li asked with a slight frown as he stepped backward. I would not dare call it guidance. However, someone capable of killing Hua Jing and Immortal Zhaogu must naturally be extraordinary. Of course I wish to examine you more closely, Shi Jingyan replied, stopping with a radiant smile. Han Li's eyes flickered, but his expression remained unchanged. Shi Jingyan smiled at him, and the fragrance surrounding her suddenly intensified, surging toward him from every direction. Han Li had already noticed that her fragrance was unusual. He had sealed his nose, mouth, and every immortal aperture in his body. At that moment, his pupils contracted, and the power of the law of time instantly spread throughout him. However, the fragrance moved like clouds and mist. Layer upon layer seeped through every opening. His power of time proved almost useless and was penetrated in an instant. A rich fragrance immediately filled every part of Han Li's body, making him feel as though he were lying amid a field of blooming flowers. The fragrance did not merely invade his body. It continued seeping toward his soul. Han Li's soul instantly grew numb. When he looked again at Shi Jingyan, with her fluttering robes and enchanting bearing, all the caution in his heart suddenly disappeared. An inexplicable feeling of intimacy arose within him. She seemed to become the woman he had always dreamed of, someone for whom he would willingly allow his bones to be crushed and his body reduced to dust. Immediately afterward, however, Han Li's vast spiritual sense suddenly surged and began circulating on its own. An enormous sword of spiritual will appeared inside his mind, releasing waves of incomparably sharp force. Like raging winds and furious waves, it easily tore through and scattered the fragrance clouding his consciousness. At the same time, faint threads of green light flashed inside his sleeve. The fragrance filling his body immediately surged toward that location and disappeared without a trace. Shi Jingyan's beautiful eyes flickered, revealing a hint of surprise. Ahem. Fifth sister, this is the sacred imperial palace. You should pay greater attention to your conduct, Shi Pokong said sternly after clearing his throat. What are you saying, third brother? I was merely greeting fellow Taoistly. Is that not right? Shi Jingyan replied with a charming smile. The fragrance surrounding her abruptly vanished as she turned toward Han Li. The fifth princess's manner of greeting is not something an ordinary person could endure, Han Li said with a bitter smile. Fellow Taoistly is naturally no ordinary person. When you have time in the future, please feel free to visit my palace. You can tell me about the Immortal Realm. I have always yearned to see it. Shi Jingyan gave Han Li a meaningful look before turning and drifting away. Third brother, 13th brother, I will also take my leave. The round-faced Shi Mingzhen cupped his hands toward Shi Pokong and Shi Chuankong. After casting Han Li another cold glance, he turned and departed. Fellow Taoistly, fifth sister's heavenly fragrance dream return is extremely domineering. Are you unharmed? Shi Pokong asked, looking toward Han Li. I am fine. Third prince need not worry, Han Li replied with a smile. That is good. We should return as well. Shi Pokong waved over the beast-drawn carriage from earlier. The four of them boarded, and it swiftly departed in the direction of Duke Luoheng's estate. The journey passed in silence. Han Li followed Shi Pokong and the others back to Duke Luoheng's residence. After they stepped down from the beast-drawn carriage, Marquis Blooddrop took his leave. At Shi Chuankong's signal, Han Li followed Shi Pokong into a council hall. Third brother, I truly cannot understand father's actions today. Why wouldn't he let me reveal the truth about the ambush we encountered? Everyone present should have been allowed to see those people's vicious ambitions. Shi Chuankong complained before he had even taken his seat. This concerns eldest brother and fifth sister. Father probably did not want the matter exposed in public, which is why he suppressed it. The generous rewards he gave you were likely intended as compensation. Still, I never expected him to grant you the Tianhong domain, Shi Pokong said slowly as he sat down in the main seat. That makes sense. Now that I have the Tianhong domain, our influence will increase dramatically. As long as I am given enough time to manage it properly, surpassing eldest brother and the others may not be impossible, Shi Chuankong said with a smile. He sat down to one side and gestured for Han Li to take the seat beside him. Several servants entered and poured spiritual tea for them. Do not celebrate too soon. Father has given you the Tianhong domain, but which of our brothers would not be envious? Be careful. They may target you in the future and secretly plot against you, Shi Pokong warned after taking a sip of tea. Don't worry, third brother. I am now a Tai cultivator. I am no longer the insignificant figure who could be pushed around at will. Should they dare to cause trouble for me, I will make them regret it. Besides, I still have you, don't I? Shi Chuankong said coldly, clenching his fist. An open spear is easy to evade, but a hidden arrow is difficult to guard against. Shi Pokong shook his head before turning toward Han Li. Fellow Taoistly, do not be too anxious about what happened with the high priest today. For now, you may use the purple sun warm jade eldest brother provided. I will also send more people to collect some for you during this period. Many thanks, Third Highness, Han Li replied. He had remained silent since entering the council hall, and had not even touched the spiritual tea beside him. Eldest brother's actions today were hardly unexpected. Even if he intends to delay matters, I doubt he would dare disobey father's command. Judging from the current situation, however, you will have to remain in Yeong City for a while longer. Third brother and I will continue searching for another way to help fellow Taoist soul cry. Shi Chuankong said apologetically. Then I will have to trouble you both. You two brothers must still have matters to discuss. I also have something to attend to, so I will take my leave. Han Li nodded, rose to his feet, and cupped his fists toward them. Fellow Taoist Li, there is no need to leave so quickly. There are still many matters concerning the Tianhong domain for which I will have to rely on you. Shi Chuankong stood and called out. I know very little about the various regions of the Holy Realm. Third Highness is more than capable of advising you. However, should there be anything for which you require my assistance, I naturally will not refuse, Han Li said, hurriedly waving his hand. Stop trying to keep fellow Taoist Li here. Now that he has received eldest brother's purple sun warm jade, he naturally wishes to return and look after fellow Taoist soul cry. Shi Pokong said with a smile. Very well. Go and settle matters concerning fellow Taoist soul cry first. Once I have completed my arrangements here, I will come and find you, Shi Chuankong said with a nod. Han Li nodded to them both before leaving the hall. After returning to Long Pavilion Garden, he activated every restriction surrounding the residence. He first entered the flower branch space to check on Soul Cry, then returned to the secret chamber and sat down cross-legged. He had originally believed the matter was practically guaranteed to succeed, only for further complications to arise. Fortunately, he had obtained some purple sun-warm jade, so the journey had not been entirely fruitless. At the very least, Soul Cry should remain safe for the next 100 years. After sitting quietly for a while, Han Li closed his eyes and began cultivating. More than 10 years later, golden light churned throughout the secret chamber, illuminating every corner of the room. Han Li sat cross-legged amid the radiance with his eyes tightly shut and a pained expression on his face. His hands rapidly formed seals before his chest while his entire body trembled uncontrollably. The mantra treasure wheel hovered high behind him, spinning continuously and releasing streams of golden light. The time-cleansing vial floated to his left, surrounded by ripples of temporal power. On his right was an hourglass formed from flowing sand. Golden grains swirled faintly within it like a miniature sandstorm. A torch burning with golden flames hovered before the left side of his chest. Its brilliant flame swayed gently. It was none other than the time-severing torch. On his right, countless strands of golden light were gradually gathering into the shape of a small golden tree covered in luxuriant branches and leaves. Han Li suddenly opened his eyes. He brought his hands together before him and shouted in a low voice, "Condense!" At his command, the time Dao marks on the mantra treasure wheel, time-cleansing vial, time-severing torch, and illusory dawn hourglass lit up simultaneously. Waves of overwhelmingly powerful time-law fluctuations surged outward from them. The light surrounding the golden tree in the center immediately became more substantial. Several breaths later, the tree completely took shape. All the power of the law of time within the room surged wildly toward the golden tree. Clusters of time Dao marks began appearing across its surface. The pain on Han Li's face immediately relaxed. After letting out a long breath, a faint smile appeared in his eyes. After more than 10 years of bitter cultivation, he had finally condensed the Donghua divine tree. With this, his great 5 elements illusory world art had finally reached the 3rd level. Han Li focused his mind and carefully sensed the power of the law of time flowing around him. His entire being seemed to enter an ethereal state. Without deliberately counting them, he could clearly perceive 720 clusters of time Dao marks flickering on the mantra treasure wheel. 360 Dao marks also shone on the time-cleansing vial. There were fewer on the time-severing torch and illusory dawn hourglass, but each possessed 180 clusters. Golden radiance flickered brightly across the newly condensed Donghua divine tree, as one cluster of time Dao marks after another appeared on its surface. At that moment, 45 crystalline threads of time suddenly flashed and separated from the mantra treasure wheel and the other manifestations. They entered the temporal power filling the chamber and circled Han Li like drifting strands of silk. A strange scene appeared amid the brilliant golden light. The crystalline threads joined end to end, forming a golden circle that revolved continuously around Han Li. As it absorbed the surrounding power of the law of time, it gradually contracted toward the center. At the same time, 5 streams of temporal power surged from the 5 manifestations, including the mantra treasure wheel and time-cleansing vial, and poured into the golden circle. The light surrounding the circle abruptly condensed, transforming it into an enormous golden ring. Clusters of time Dao marks flew from the mantra treasure wheel and the other manifestations, one after another, before landing upon the golden ring. The ring trembled violently and emitted a succession of sharp vibrating cries. Powerful waves of temporal energy surged outward, battering the layers of restrictions Hanli had placed throughout the chamber until they seemed on the verge of collapsing. Hanli suddenly frowned as he sensed something. "Is it happening again?" he murmured. As soon as he spoke, the clothing over his chest bulged. A ball of azure light shot outward and transformed into a small dark green bottle covered in intricate patterns. It was the heaven-controlling bottle. Brilliant light erupted from the bottle, making it resemble a green sun. A powerful suction force immediately emerged from within it. With a sharp whooshing sound, the golden ring flew upward and rapidly shrank in midair. Once it became the same size as the bottle's mouth, it embedded itself directly around the opening. The moment they connected, an immense wave of temporal power spread outward. The dark green bottle swiftly expanded. Countless green runes appeared inside it, gathering into a churning mass of green clouds. Powerful law fluctuations radiated from the clouds, causing the nearby void to tremble as strange ripples visible to the naked eye appeared in the air. The golden ring around the bottle's mouth flashed. The green clouds within the bottle suddenly brightened and transformed into a thick pillar of green light that shot forward and disappeared into the void. A thunderous rumble erupted. The void split apart, and countless crystalline lights poured from the fissure, gathering into the familiar crystal wall. It seems this happened a little sooner than I expected." A voice suddenly sounded inside Hanli's mind. His expression changed slightly. He immediately examined the bottle and saw 2 black, bean-sized eyes appear on its surface. They were staring directly at him. Hanli attempted to contact the presence with his spiritual sense, but an invisible wall seemed to block him. He could not produce even the faintest spiritual message, much less transmit it to the being that might have been the bottle's spirit. Before he could do anything else, brilliant light erupted from the crystal wall. Amid a deafening rumble, an enormous vortex appeared and began spinning rapidly. A tremendous suction force emerged from it and quickly swallowed him. When Hanli regained consciousness, a vast wasteland had appeared before him. In the distance, a mighty river flowed from the far end of the horizon. It twisted across the landscape and extended toward another horizon whose end could not be seen. Countless spheres of light resembling droplets flowed within the river, densely packed and seemingly without end. The river seemed to move with incredible speed, yet also appeared incomparably slow. In his dazed perception, it sometimes seemed completely motionless. The sight was exceedingly strange. This was not the first time Hanli had seen these spheres of light, which varied greatly in size, but he was still filled with wonder. He was about to fly toward the river when he suddenly sensed something. His expression changed drastically. "How is this possible?" Hanli cried out as he hurriedly looked down at himself. He was not in a spiritual state. He had arrived in his physical body. Hanli shook his head and firmly touched his cheek. The scene before him was clearly not an illusion. In other words, his physical body had been sucked into the vortex alongside his soul. How could this happen? Hanli's mind fell into turmoil, but there was no one he could ask. He looked around for a long while before gradually calming himself. After composing his expression, he slowly flew toward the river. Although he had visited this place several times, this was the first time he had arrived under such circumstances. The experience felt completely different. While pondering this, Hanli reached the space above the river. He hovered in midair and looked down into the flowing waters. One strange sphere of light after another drifted beneath him. Having learned from his previous experience, he did not focus on any single sphere. He merely glanced hurriedly at the illusory scenes appearing inside them. At that moment, a particularly large sphere drifted beneath him. It was moving much more slowly than the others. Hanli caught a glimpse of the scene within it. His heart tightened, and he instinctively fixed his gaze upon it. The moment his eyes settled on the sphere, he realized his mistake. It's bad. However, it was already too late. The droplet-shaped sphere erupted with light and released a tremendous devouring force. With a faint whoosh, Han Li's entire body was enveloped by an irresistible power and violently dragged toward the sphere. His vision went black, and he lost consciousness once again. When Han Li's eyes abruptly opened, he found himself lying on a black reef that rose high above the surface of the sea. Waves crashed loudly around him. Seawater continuously struck the reef, scattering large sprays of foam. Han Li pressed his hands against the stone and sat up. Looking around, he discovered that he was surrounded by an endless sea. The water was deep and appeared almost black. A faint ringing sounded in his ears. His breathing was heavy, and his entire body was filled with an indescribable sense of discomfort. There seemed to be nothing unusual about the surrounding world. Spiritual energy flowed normally between heaven and earth, while demonic chi drifted through the air as usual. Nevertheless, something felt different. The discomfort intensified slightly with each breath he took. Each increase was no more noticeable than one snowflake settling upon another. The change was extremely subtle. Under ordinary circumstances, Han Li might have noticed such a minute difference without paying it much attention. However, his current situation was far too unusual, forcing him to remain exceptionally vigilant. He calmed his mind and moved to the edge of the reef. Leaning forward, he looked down at the water. His own face was clearly reflected on the dark surface. This time it truly was not a projection of his soul. His physical body had traveled through time. Han Li slowly exhaled. Unsure whether he should feel delighted or alarmed, he sat back down in a daze. Out of habit, he raised his head and looked above him. The illusory mantra treasure wheel that had appeared during his previous spiritual journeys was nowhere to be seen. In its place was a blurry golden ring densely covered in time Dao marks. After briefly counting them, Han Li discovered that there were 1,620 clusters. That number seemed to be the combined total of all the Dao marks on the 5 time law manifestations, including the mantra treasure wheel, time cleansing vial, and Dongi divine tree. It appeared that the duration of his journey would still depend on how quickly his temporal power was consumed. Han Li's heart stirred slightly. He raised a hand to his forehead and gently massaged it. His gaze suddenly fell upon something not far behind the reef. Half of a massive black corpse was floating beneath the surface. It was already beginning to rot and gave off a foul odor. Han Li frowned and flew into the air. After hovering closer and examining it carefully, he discovered that it was a ruptured piece of a black whale's corpse. It also looked somewhat familiar. He suddenly recalled the scene he had witnessed inside the droplet-shaped sphere, or more precisely, the figure he had seen within it. Han Li slowly lowered the hand that had been massaging his forehead as a tremendous question arose in his mind. Could the event he had witnessed back then have been caused by this strange journey through time? The thought sent enormous waves surging through his heart. The more carefully he considered it, the more likely his speculation seemed. He immediately stood up. After examining his body and confirming that he had suffered no injuries, Han Li closed his eyes and released his spiritual sense in all directions. A moment later, he slowly opened his eyes. The corners of his mouth lifted into a faint smile. Whether my guess is correct or not, I will know as soon as I see him. After speaking, he put on a reincarnation palace mask. His figure shot into the air, and he sped away in a particular direction. Tens of thousands of kilometers away, above a stretch of black sea, a dark green figure sat floating upon the water. His body rose and fell with the waves like a drifting leaf. The man was thin and wore an extremely loose dark green Taoist robe. Spread across the surface, it resembled a broad lotus leaf. His face was lean and refined, and a long beard drifted beneath his chin. His appearance truly carried the air of an immortal sage. He was none other than Taoist Master Zhaogu. A fist-sized purple pearl hovered above his head, releasing waves of purple mist and hazy light that enveloped his skull. The purple pearl was an immortal treasure capable of nourishing the soul, but it was only a 9th-grade treasure. Under normal circumstances, Taoist Master Zhaogu would never have used such an artifact. This time, however, he had no choice. While pursuing the 2 murderers who had killed his disciple, He had been careless and suffered a severe injury from the Tai cultivator's strange divine ability. His soul had been badly damaged, and even after consuming several soul-nourishing pills, he had experienced little improvement. With no other option, he had resorted to using this immortal treasure, despite the fact that it was not intended to heal damage to the soul. You may have severely injured my soul, brat, but you cannot have escaped unharmed. The next time you meet me, I will show you what it means to have your body withered to skin and bone. I will grind your bones to dust and scatter your ashes, Taoist Master Xiaogu said through clenched teeth, his eyes filled with hatred. As soon as he finished speaking, a streak of light appeared in the far distance and sped toward him. It abruptly stopped 100 zhang away. A figure emerged from the light. It had the same familiar appearance and the same familiar aura, yet the feeling he gave off was entirely different. Taoist Master Xiaogu was startled. He hurriedly stood and shouted, "Why is it you? So it really is as I suspected." Ha ha ha. Han Li laughed heartily, delighted by the confirmation. He had suspected that, for some unknown reason, his physical body had traveled back to the Ink Sea domain where he had once fought Taoist Master Xiaogu. Now that he had seen the man, all his conjectures had been verified. This meant that before Han Li had killed Taoist Master Xiaogu in the original course of events, the person who had severely injured him and nearly destroyed his soul had been none other than Han Li himself after traveling back from the future. Taoist Master Xiaogu watched Han Li laugh and sink into thought. The confusion in his eyes deepened. Something about Han Li seemed strange. That strangeness left him deeply uneasy, but he could not determine its source. "Brat, you are astonishingly arrogant. You abandoned Shichuankong and came to pursue me alone," Taoist Master Xiaogu shouted after steadying himself. "Your soul has not fully recovered from its injuries, has it?" Han Li ignored his question and smiled. "So what if it has not? I refuse to believe that you can use such a soul secret technique again after so little time," Taoist Master Xiaogu replied forcefully, though uncertainty had already begun gnawing at him. Soul secret techniques consume more spiritual sense than almost any other ability. It is true that I cannot recover so quickly. But how do you know that I possess no other methods? Han Li asked with an amused smile. For some reason, the expression on Han Li's face sent a chill creeping through Taoist Master Xiaogu's heart. He quickly mocked himself for the thought. How could a dignified great encompassment cultivator like him be intimidated by a mere Tai cultivator? You are merely pretending to be mysterious. Taoist Master Xiaogu snorted coldly and waved his hand. A layer of hazy white light spread outward and instantly transformed into a withered bone spirit domain, enveloping the surrounding world. A thin layer of mist rippled across the domain. 8 enormous white bone towers appeared and surrounded them. Taoist Master Xiaogu let out a long breath of turbid air. Sharp waves of pain continued to pulse through his sea of consciousness. His spiritual sense responded sluggishly, causing the demonic qi within his body to circulate more slowly as well. Han Li merely frowned slightly at the sight. He showed little sign of nervousness. He turned his palm over, and a strangely shaped glazed lamp appeared in his hand. That is the soul-devouring lamp. How did it fall into your hands?" Taoist Master Xiaogu cried in shock when he saw it. "So Senior recognizes this treasure. I wonder whether you possess a method to counter it." Han Li raised an eyebrow. With a wave of his hand, the glazed lamp spun through the air and flew toward Taoist Master Xiaogu. The latter did not hesitate. He twisted his wrist, produced a purple and gold talisman, and pressed it forcefully against the center of his brow. The talisman flashed with purple and golden light before instantly burning to ashes. It became a wisp of smoke and dispersed. Intertwined purple and golden lines appeared on Taoist Master Xiaogu's forehead, gathering into an intricate talismanic pattern. Han Li frowned slightly, but his hands did not slow. He rapidly formed a succession of seals. When the soul-devouring lamp reached a point 100 zhang away from Taoist Master Xiaogu, its wick suddenly flashed. Purple and azure flames ignited, twisting around each other like 2 demonic fire serpents. The purple and azure flames within the lamp were not particularly bright. Instead, they appeared dim and eerie. Taoist Master Xiaogu's gaze involuntarily fell upon them, and his eyes immediately became unfocused. In his daze, he seemed to see two beautiful young women inside the lamp. Their faces were incomparably seductive, and they leaned against each other while performing a dance that could steal a person's soul. Within moments, Taoist Master Xiaogu's eyes became fixed and vacant. At the same time, an enormous illusory oil lamp appeared inside his sea of consciousness, flickering between brightness and darkness. The four strange beasts beneath the lamp opened their mouths as eerie green light flashed within their eyes. They began sucking in air from all directions. Taoist Master Xiaogu's soul was already severely damaged. His sea of consciousness immediately began churning violently, and the soul he had spent days barely stabilizing once again became restless and chaotic. Seeing this, Hanli raised one arm. A flash of light appeared, and an azure bamboo cloud swarm sword materialized in his hand. With a thought, he took advantage of the moment when Taoist Master Xiaogu's soul was being seized. His body shot forward and appeared before him in an instant. Golden lightning erupted from the azure sword and pierced the heavens. It formed an enormous bolt of golden lightning resembling a long blazing whip of thunder, and slashed down toward Taoist Master Xiaogu. Crackling electricity scorched the void. Just as the lightning-covered blade was about to engulf Taoist Master Xiaogu, an unexpected change occurred. The talismanic pattern on Taoist Master Xiaogu's forehead erupted with golden light. A tremendous soul fluctuation exploded through his sea of consciousness, transforming into a raging wave that seemed capable of overturning mountains and seas. It crashed toward the enormous illusory oil lamp. The wave swept over the lamp, but the illusion remained completely unmoved. There was no sign that it would disperse. Immediately afterward, the enormous wave seemed to be invaded by extreme cold. It instantly froze into solid frost, sealing the illusory oil lamp within it. Although these events appeared lengthy, everything happened the instant the golden talismanic pattern lit up. As Han Li's sword approached, his heart suddenly pounded. Realizing that something was wrong, he forcefully reversed the true wheel within his body. His figure abruptly changed direction in front of Taoist Master Xiaogu and shot straight into the sky. Taoist Master Xiaogu's robes had opened slightly over his chest. The pale tip of a bone sword protruded from within him. A drop of milky white liquid had gathered on the sword's point. Hovering high above, Han Li stared at the milky white droplet, and his expression changed slightly. That droplet contained an extremely pure concentration of Taoist Master Xiaogu's law power. Had it been fired at full strength from such close range, Han Li knew he could not possibly have blocked it. Even if he somehow survived, he would certainly have suffered a devastating injury. Although this body had traveled through time, it was still his own physical body. Should it be damaged or destroyed, no one could predict the consequences. Han Li glanced at the golden ring above his head. More than 100 time Dao marks had already gone dark. However, they were being extinguished somewhat more slowly than during his previous journeys in spiritual form. He had no time to consider the matter further and quickly turned his attention back to Taoist Master Xiaogu. The man seemed to have awakened from the soul-devouring lamp's control. He formed a seal with both hands, and one of the white bone towers scattered apart by itself, surrounding and sealing the glazed lamp. Han Li immediately felt his connection with the treasure being cut off. Impressive, brat. The soul-devouring lamp seems even more powerful in your hands than it was in the possession of the purple azure twin beauties. But now that I have sealed it, let us see what else you can bring out, Taoist Master Xiaogu said through clenched teeth, his face dark and gloomy. As soon as he finished speaking, a vicious light flashed through his eyes. Han Li frowned and immediately reversed the true wheel again, vanishing from where he stood. In the next instant, another white bone tower silently crashed down from above. Raging green flames surged from it, transforming into a dark green fire dragon that pursued Han Li. Han Li had barely shifted sideways when another white bone tower appeared in front of him and blocked his path. More eerie green flames surged outward. The 7 remaining white bone towers repeatedly appeared and vanished throughout the withered bone spirit domain, tightening their pursuit and compressing the space around Han Li. At the same time, the discomfort Han Li had noticed upon arriving became increasingly obvious. It felt as though countless layers of snow were steadily accumulating upon a roof that was finally reaching the point of collapse. As he had expected, after traveling into a time and space to which he did not belong, the entire world had begun rejecting his existence. I cannot delay any longer. Han Li's expression darkened. He formed a seal with both hands, and 18 azure bamboo cloudswarm swords shot outward. They circled rapidly around him, emitting continuous crackling sounds as lightning surged across their surfaces. A thought entered Han Li's mind. Ever since he had completed the cleansing of his baleful qi, the 72 azure bamboo cloudswarm swords, which had also undergone refinement within the golden lightning pool, seemed to have experienced some hidden transformation. Not only had the connection among the swords become much stronger, but their spirituality also appeared to have improved considerably. At Han Li's command, brilliant runes lit up across all 18 swords. A layer of ancient azure sword qi and a sea of golden lightning erupted simultaneously. The two forces reinforced each other as they swept in every direction. An enormous golden sphere of light expanded outward with Han Li at its center. The eerie green flames blocking his escape immediately retreated before it, and rapidly withdrew into the white bone towers. A faint hiss suddenly sounded. Han Li's heart jumped. He immediately turned around. The strange bone sword that had protruded from Taoist Master Zhaogu's chest had already transformed into a blurry shadow. It shot through a gap between the white bone towers at an extremely deceptive angle and stabbed toward Han Li's lower back. The milky white droplet on the sword's tip did not tremble in the slightest as it rapidly approached him. Under these circumstances, even reversing the true wheel would not allow Han Li to evade the attack in time. In desperation, he raised his wrist. A jade-green gourd appeared, and light flashed from its opening. A strange sound came from within the gourd. A dark green ray shot out and instantly collided with the milky white droplet. A thunderous explosion erupted. The dark green ray, which contained the aura of the law of destruction, immediately shattered. The milky white droplet on the bone sword's tip merely paused before continuing toward Han Li's chest. However, that brief delay had given him precious time. Brilliant golden light erupted from behind him as the mantra treasure wheel appeared, and released a vast expanse of dazzling radiance. Wherever the golden light reached, the flow of time abruptly slowed. The milky white droplet was no exception. It seemed to sink into thick mud, and its speed decreased dramatically. Seizing the opportunity, Han Li rotated the azure bamboo cloudswarm sword in his hand. Runes shone brilliantly across the blade as violent lightning surged from within it. Han Li poured all his strength into the sword and slashed heavily against the milky white droplet. A deafening rumble shook heaven and earth. Large portions of the surrounding void were engulfed by countless strands of golden lightning. The milky white droplet exploded and dispersed into a hazy mist. The white bone sword trembled violently and was sent flying backward. Han Li immediately withdrew the mantra treasure wheel into his body. With a flash, he pursued the sword and raised the profound heavenly gourd once again. A green vortex lit up at the gourd's opening. A powerful tearing force emerged and seized the bone sword, dragging it directly into the gourd. Taoist Master Zhaogu's eyes narrowed when he saw this. He rapidly formed seals with both hands and then swung his arms. The entire withered bone spirit domain trembled violently. Within the empty eye sockets of the skulls forming the 8 white bone towers, the eerie green flames began extinguishing layer by layer from the bottom upward. Eventually, only the flames within the 8 enormous skulls at the very top remained alight. The domain became even darker. Han Li's heart stirred as he sensed the surrounding environment quietly beginning to change. To think you could force me this far. Brat, although you are merely an early Tai Jade immortal, you have truly made me see you in a new light. Unfortunately, the difference between cultivation realms cannot be overcome merely by relying on a powerful soul secret technique, Taoist Master Zhaogu said as he walked through the air toward Han Li one step at a time. Senior, I am afraid you are mistaken. I have yet to exhaust all my soul secret techniques. How can you know that the gap between us cannot be overcome? Han Li remained vigilant, but his expression was calm as he smiled. Taoist Master Zhaogu's steps involuntarily paused. He was clearly still wary of Han Li's soul attacks. I have already sealed your soul-devouring lamp. You used that tremendously exhausting crystalline sword once before, and there is no possibility that you can use it again after so little time. There is no need to bluff, Taoist Master Zhaogu said slowly. Whether I am bluffing or not, Senior is welcome to test me. Han Li held a sword in one hand and gripped the profound heavenly gourd in the other. Then I will test you, Taoist Master Zhaogu replied with a cold laugh. As soon as he spoke, dazzling white light erupted from his body, and his figure began expanding. His ropes tore apart inch by inch. Ferocious white bones pierced through his flesh and extended beyond his body. All traces of his immortal bearing vanished as he transformed directly into an enormous white bone demon. At the same time, his aura increased several-fold, reaching a terrifying level. The entire withered bone spirit domain seemed to be affected by his transformation. The light became incomparably dim, and the oppressive force within the domain multiplied several times over. Han Li's expression finally changed slightly. Taoist Master Xiaogu had transformed into a white bone demon 100 zhang tall. His eyes had turned blood red, although the golden talismanic pattern remained on his forehead. He released a deafening roar and strode toward Han Li. Wherever he passed, violent waves rolled through the void, causing space itself to tremble. The surrounding space seemed to be compressed and folded backward. Even the golden light released by Han Li's mantra treasure wheel was pushed back by the distortion of space, and could not affect Taoist Master Xiaogu's movements. The white bone demon crossed the distance in a single step. It raised one enormous hand and brought it down toward Han Li's head. Its 5 fingers had become 5 massive white bone sickles. They tore directly through the void and descended around Han Li, as though intending to slice his body into several pieces.